So if you wanted to go watch one movie right now, what would the movie be?
See, I want to sit here and try to think of a really clever answer, but instead I'm just going to be honest and say that the first thing that came to mind is Inception.
That's fair.
Just because I love how like dense that movie is with the ideas. It's just like dream within a dream within a dream, and then every time you watch that movie, you discover something you didn't see before.
But if I told you that I've never seen that movie, would you judge me?
All right, I gotta go, guys. Just kidding.
This has been great. What about you, Trey?
Oh, it would be in game for sure.
Dude, we're going to see it tomorrow.
Obviously.
Go on.
That was the correct answer from the start.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. You did good. Did you watch all the previous ones?
Nope, not one. Oh, no, the previews. No, I've not watched any
I've
previews.
not seen a single Marvel movie.
But you want to go watch Endgame.
The very last one. Just skip to the good part.
Oh, man.
So, you've seen the previous ones. Have
Correct.
you seen Captain Marvel?
No.
Okay, me neither.
All right.
Welcome to the Soundcheck Podcast. We have been graced with the local legend. Not only someday to exceed local and become just an all-around legend, that I personally feel not worthy to be blessed with his presence. Today we have Sir.
It's Alec, bitches. Wait,
Oh.
can we cuss on here or no?
I guess
You
we
said-
are now.
You can say whatever you want, my friend.
Okay.
I
It's
mean-
Alec, bitches.
I mean, not whatever we want, but
Alright, I'll keep it about there. I'm not going to take it much higher than that, but yeah.
I mean, take
Here
it
I
as high
am.
as you
Thank
want
y'all
to.
for having me, by the way. This is cool.
Dude,
I'm happy to be involved and talk about whatever. We're just having a good conversation, and there happens to be microphones.
happens to be microphones. All right, so today we have Alec here to grace us with his presence, and this is yours truly, Michael, and this is yours not so truly.
Trey, how's it going?
Nobody really cares what you do, Trey. So, anyway, today we got Alec in this biot to talk a little bit about whatever Alec wants to talk about, because we're fascinated and we want to know everything about Alec and all his whereabouts right now. Which, Alec, thank you for coming out today. I know you have a busy schedule, but please, I believe Trey has some questions for you, so go ahead. You know.
Yeah, Trey, let's do it.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to start off talking about your some of your bands and the things you got going on. So you were in the post-hardcore band Mirages and a rock country type cover band Earth Contemporary.
Who sings Aladdin songs?
Yeah, so
Now you're like, oh yeah, you did that goofy,
What? No,
that
which
goofy
song?
cover.
Which doesn't?
no, it was, we were at the Pearl and in Lafayette, and we busted out for the first time. It's a rock version of a song from the Goofy movie. It's Eye to Eye. Have y'all seen the Goofy movie?
Yeah, by Powerline. dude.
Powerline at the end, he has a huge
Yeah.
concert, and he's like, he's singing, and then Goofy and his son gets on stage and dances. So we just took that and just made it into like power chords and shit. And I thought no one was gonna know it. I was like, this is just one for me, you know. And I start playing it, and people are like, what? And I'm like, other people saw this movie.
As soon as we heard y'all play that song at Center Stage, me and my wife looked at each other and we're like, "Oh my god, what?" I was like, "What song is it?" She's like, "It's the Goofy movie." I was like, "No way."
Yeah.
Dude.
Well,
That was so refreshing. It was something so different, man.
we like to divvy it up between, like, if you're doing cover shows, you've got to do the pop songs that everybody knows. But we also like to incorporate things that are just really special or nostalgic, or like a different twist on something that you may not anticipate. So that was one where I was just like, I've just loved this song my whole life, and it's like really authentic to me to just take something that I already love and just put it in the band. So
Right, and that's what I love so much about Earth Contemporary when I go see y'all, is you never know what kind of cover y'all are going to throw out there, because it always differs between, it could be an old rock song by, like, I don't think y'all play Zeppelin, but that era, and then go from that into like a Goofy movie type song. It's always fun, always a blast. And then y'all released y'all single Letters with Earth Contemporary. And you were telling me a while ago that it's country, but to me it's more just an alternative sound.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it so much.
It's an acoustic driven song, and it's funny for me because it comes from a record that I'm working on that sounds nothing like that, and it just happened to be the first song that we put out. So I had a lot of my friends say like, oh, like it's like a country song or it's like Christian rock or something. And I'm like, so that's what the band is? I'm like, not at all. It's actually like a hard rock, and a lot of it's really dark. That just happened to be the first song that I put out, you know. So it's, but I really like that song because it's just so personal. It's like one of the most authentic, emotional realizations that I've had, and I was able to put it in art. So
if it makes you feel any better about being called a country band, we've been compared to classic rock.
It's inescapable. You're going to be compared to some stuff that you just don't like. I don't get it, but you know,
who was it? Somebody said we were like trapped, which I'm like, you know, I like trapped.
Yeah,
I did in the past like trapped. You know, that was when I was growing up. When I was a kid, I was like, man, this is everything to me. This is like my life. But now, not so much. And we also got compared to Switchfoot, and I was like, nah, what? Okay, sure, I'll take it. If us sounding like Switchfoot to you will get you to listen to us, then fine.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the beauty of the whole thing, is the relativity of this, because it's one thing to you, and it might be something different to every single person that hears it after that. But like you said, that could be the thing that connects them. Like the familiarity. It's like, oh, this reminds me of this one thing that I've seen before, and that's what makes me feel comfortable indulging in it. And that's fine if that's what it takes, you know.
You just blew my mind. I've never looked at it like that before. Like,
okay, say you have like a complex shape in the middle of the floor, and one person's standing over here, and they're like, all right, it's a square. And then you have another person standing on the other side of the room, and they're like, no, it's a triangle. It's like neither of them are really wrong because they're seeing it from two different perspectives, you know. That's probably a horrible analogy. I just woke up.
I'm literally just thinking like that's why he likes the movie Inception.
That's what I was about to say. Inception. But so we're gonna start talking about Mirages, but since we're already on the topic of Earth Contemporary, so you said y'all have a whole, is it an EP or a full length album written already?
It's a full length album written, and I'm demoing it all right now so I can just get all the arrangements right before we go into the studio, but it's a very personal story, kind of the things that broke the child in me and facilitated me becoming a man.
That's good, yeah.
In an album.
Okay, and so like, did you have any, what were you listening to, or what inspired you to journey out to make this project a thing?
Okay, well, when we started out, I've got to talk, the name ties into this. It's like an inside joke with myself, because you have all these subgenres of music. Like, you've got metal, and then you've got like 50 different versions of metal, right? And every single genre has this. And one day I was sitting there, I was like, okay, 500 years from now, like aliens sitting there talking about music from the past, they're not really going to have the time to go like, oh, well, this subgenre of X or Y, they're probably just going to, oh, that's Earth Contemporary music from like the 20th century.
Okay.
So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it is.
I love that.
The game about it is I built this band so I can include every influence, you know, because in other bands I've been in, it's got to be such a focused thing. I wanted to have one band where I'm like, I can do rock songs with pop melodies with jazz chords. Right. And then play guitar, you know, just like whatever I want to do to make a good song, like in every single color that you can paint with. So
that's incredibly talented, because I find it hard to take a specific idea of something and say, I want to write something that has these elements. For me, it's always like just one big happy accident, like, that sounds cool. How can I build off that? You know, I'm not like looking for that, how do I make that sound kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
And some of the best stuff is like a happy accident, you know, that comes out. It's like, and I say influences from everything, but I'm not sitting here like, okay, I'm not deciding that I'm going to take X or Y and then put it all together. It's more just like, I've been around these different styles of music so much that I like can't help but they seep into my influence.
Right.
And my happy accidents happen to have like a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of rock, a little bit of pop, a little bit of jazz, you know, so
Right,
But
and you're not putting yourself in a box or confining yourself to one certain genre. It's just
it just happens that way because I just genuinely love so much music. You know, it just comes out that way.
For sure. So, if at all possible, if there's anything you can talk about, you have anything coming up that's within the next, I don't know, couple weeks, couple months, what you're working on that you plan on releasing to the public anytime soon?
It's really too early to talk about any releases for Earth Contemporary. It's all written, but I'm really taking my time with that project because it's so personal to me. I want to do it right. But I think as far as what's coming up, you can definitely see us doing more shows and more tours. It's with my other group as well, with Mirages, doing more, because we just released an EP with Mirages in January. So right now we're in like...
Which slaps, by the way. Gonna go ahead and throw that out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that perspective. But we're in hit the ground running mode right now. We, like, the first quarter, every single month we did a run. We were in Texas. We were all over the place. So I'm kind of... There's a weird cycle because it's like, okay, I'm in the public with this one CD that I just released, and I've got to like promote this and do tours on this. Meanwhile, I'm in the studio getting the next thing ready. And then once we take the Earth Contemporary record and really put it out, I'm going to go back into the studio with Mirages and be getting the next thing. So it's just an ongoing cycle of like, you got something you're cooking in the kitchen, and then you got something you're promoting on the street, you know?
Man, how do you switch? Because, I mean, truthfully, between, we're working on our EP right now, The Weekend Transit, and we're making great progress. We plan on finishing very soon. But we actually are already amongst ourselves talking about, where do we go from here? What's our next move? We have some ideas and whatnot, and we have a general overall feel of where we want to go with, the following. But we're working together as one unit with one goal. Now, you're working with multiple. I can't even, and the thing is, like, you're going from such a heavy, aggressive, and an incredible amount of emotion in one band to one that's very reserved. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a lot of emotion still, but a lot of melody, very dialed back, a lot more clean sounds. How do you even begin to switch from one mode to the other while you're working on both at the same time? That's puzzling to me.
They're not so different in my eyes. And my team has a whole lot to do with it. Because in Mirages and Earth Contemporary, it's the same bassist and the same drummer. And also me. And the only difference in the two groups is Ben and Chris, who in Mirages are our vocalist and guitarist, respectively. So, I don't know, it's just like art reflects life. There's times where I'm just angry and passionate and want to express something wild and crazy, and there's times where I'm just broken and don't know what to say or how to say it. So it only makes sense for the art to reflect that, and it's really one band to me. It's like me with a guitar on pursuing music. But to the public, in order to reach an audience, you kind of have to filter it into different directions, because there's an audience around metal and people that understand and have expectations about what metal is. So it only makes sense for me to take the metal songs we do and put them into one vignette, one vehicle, and that's Mirages. And then we'll use that as a brand to reach that audience and give them what they need. And then Earth Contemporary is a whole different audience, that has different set of expectations, different set of tastes. So we take those things and put it into that vignette and that vehicle and reach them. But really, at the end of the day, it's us as people just talking about our lives and our perspectives, and our emotion. So that's why I say it's kind of like one band that we have. Okay, the Coca-Cola company owns like everything. Sprite and Dr. Pepper,
Monster.
like all the, but it's the Coca-Cola company, and they distribute and create all these different things and send.
So that's to different people.
That's what I see us doing. We're
that's a great way of putting it.
We're making music, and we're just taking it. We're trying to facilitate the same experience in different languages almost. Because the best thing in the world to me is when you're playing a show and people are into it and they're giving you energy back. And you as a performer, it's like you're just tossing a beach ball back and forth with the audience, you know. And in metal, that's moshing. In pop, that's a dance floor. But it's really the same feeling, you know. So I have to, as a performer, like, I feel like I need to be fluent in all these different languages. Like, I need to be able to make a room mosh and beat the shit out of each other, or dance.
Absolutely.
So,
or you know, crack their knuckles in the middle of a podcast.
You didn't do that, but
That's the thing we can do too.
sorry.
oh man.
No, that's cool though, man. That's you're definitely right. No, that Coca-Cola analogy was really like okay, so us as a band, the Weekend Transit, me and Trey, we've really delved into this whole new world of trying to figure out how this game of marketing and strategizing works and whatnot. And we used to look at music as everything, which the music is the driving force behind the reason why we do everything we do. But the way you're looking at it, you know, you're comparing it to a business model. Ultimately, the music is a business. It is a model that needs to be catered to. It is something that needs to be obviously you're trying to build a community and you're trying to keep away the mindset of selling something, but you have to get your music out there because it means so much to you. You want people to hear you know, your story. You want people who relate to the songs that you put out. But without, you know, looking at it in that marketing mindset, that business mindset, it's very hard to advance and get more people to be able to experience what you've experienced. And not just experience it, but to relate to the experience, you know?
And you're right. And that's such a hard subject because, like, as an artist, it almost feels like diluting of the art to take it into that business mode. But these things aren't mutually exclusive. It's like different levels that coexist simultaneously, and you have like different lenses you look through, or a different pair of glasses that you put on. You know, like or a different hat.
Yeah,
you know,
you become something a little different than what you intended to be initially, but you realize that there's more that comes to you know, this business than, when I say business, this dream, this goal, this I guess dream, than just, you know, I'm writing music, the world, you know, needs to hear it. You have to get it out there somehow. So it's a tough process.
Now, and I've always been the guy that I like all of me being used, like stimulated in several different ways. If something is not engaging every single part of me, it's not interesting to me. And I think that's why I fell into music, because like I get to be an artist, I get to be a business person, like a liaison and like a performer and an entertainer, like all these different things, all for the same goal, like using all these different sides of myself focused towards one thing. And I think that's why it's so appealing.
Yeah,
because
you get to be a jack of all trades. And you get to say, like, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I can do. I mean,
well, even if you're not, like, you fail until you are good at it. You know,
absolutely. That's like I was having a conversation earlier. You got to try to increase your percentages of success. Because if you just don't try, then there's no percent of success. You know, and I mean, if you try it initially and you do it, congratulations, buddy. But most of the time, you gotta put in some work. It takes some grinding to get there, you know?
For sure. And the only reason I'm anywhere in regard to what I'm doing at all is because I've experienced bullshit. And then you sit there and you're like, why did this happen? You know, like, why did I fail at this thing that I care about so much? And then you analyze all the variables and you're like, oh, next time it's not going this way. And then you think about that in regard to your live show, in regard to your studio sessions, in regard to your marketing. And this happens over and over, and you just learn and get better as time goes on.
Oh yeah, we definitely had our fair share of failed experiences that
but it's
we're
so
still
important.
disgusted by.
Absolutely. That's what's so beautiful about that and doing this, is that going in, there's never going to be the perfect band that comes on the first time is perfect, you know? So it's like, that's what's so
unless
cool
you're
about
like Hendrix, but
yeah,
you get like one of those a century.
Right, but like, even then, I would like to think that when he first came on, he messed up a lot.
Yeah.
And he analyzed it just like you do and like we do as musicians, you know? And that's what's so cool about it, is that, you know, no matter how bad your show is, you can always analyze it and grow from it. That's what it's all about. all times.
I did that last night.
Yeah.
I'll probably do that again tonight.
Yeah, so what's going on, man? Tell me a little. You had mentioned you had a little rough go last night.
Oh, yeah, well, right now, with Earth Contemporary, now, it is an original band, but we have a cover band element. It's for different reasons. We want to be more plugged into the community. We want to be more capable of entertaining different groups of people in different scenarios, but it's also like a good financial move. A cover band is a very viable thing financially, so we're doing our set, and it's really diversified. We have music from every decade, and we're going to film it, right? Like with different cameras and like multi-track it so I can use it for promo or for sales just to represent what we're doing. So last night was our shoot of our show, and we had cameras set up, we had microphones on everything, and man, it was a little too much for me to deal with because I'm a technical guy, and I'm aware of all those variables, and if something's not going right, it's really hard for me to like disconnect from that and be like, okay, I've got a guitar on, I've got to sing and dance and be like creative and free and like entertain these people when I'm thinking about the computer's messing up.
Yeah.
It's just a really hard balance, and our whole first set last night, it was just messing with my head hard. It took me a minute to recover. Like, we bounced back, and like halfway through the second set, we were on fire, we were rolling, but it was just one of those times that I just had to sit back and reevaluate, like, how can I disconnect from this? Because like, that's not my job right now. My job is not IT guy for this band. My job is like fronting this band, and I need to disconnect. So it was just another one of those learning experiences.
You know, I don't personally. I have like no knowledge really of how to do hardly any of that stuff. But just in starting doing music in general and starting writing and stuff like that, I didn't look at it as like something, like you said, it's not my job right now. That's not what's on my mind and whatnot. But over time, when I didn't rely on myself to be so self-sufficient at that thing, I just picked stuff up, just a little bit at a time. I mean, like, just through recording and writing and stuff like that. It wasn't like, I have to learn how to do this. I have to learn how to do that. I have to make sure this is right. It was kind of just like, oh, well, that's what's next. That's what I need to do next. That's where I go from here. Yeah. And I mean, truthfully, if I'm being honest, I have a pretty decent setup here. I mean, I'm not sitting in a, $500,000 studio by any means, but everything I have right now, it gets the job done to a point to where I can keep progressing further from here, and eventually I plan, this is going to turn into that, and this will turn into that, and it'll get to the point where it's like almost laughable to where I was before.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like,
for sure.
it's just like playing with the Weekend Transit. Like, we had if we look at where we are now compared to where we were back then, me and Will, one of the other members of the band, were talking the other day. We're like, dude, can you believe where we were then?
That's the weirdest feeling. Yeah. And when you've been playing with people for like years and years, like I was sitting the last tour we went on, we had some friends of the band they were very sweet to us, and they let us stay in their home, so we didn't have to get a hotel. And I was sitting there on the couch with Ben, who's the vocalist in Mirages, and we've been playing music together for like years and years. And I don't know what it was, but we just started coming up with like memory after memory of years ago, stuff we haven't thought about in years. And we're just like, I cannot even believe that we've been doing this together this long. Like, do you remember where we were? And then like, here's where we are, and it'll probably just keep going, Such a weird, meta is the best word I can use to describe it, but there's also nostalgia. It's just, it's a weird feeling.
Let's go ahead and talk about where you are now. So today, we have a single that we're about to play in a little bit, which we'll play right after. You go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we have Scavenger, which is a song from Mirages, and I like to think of it as our liaison, like our introduction song to the band. Because we have an EP with 5 tracks, and it's a lot of different flavors, but Scavenger kind of has all of it. It's got the melodic, it's got the heavy, and it's just a very good introduction to the band. So that's why I picked it today to play.
Which is good, because you put that single out and you think, okay, so let's just throw everything we can into this, and let's just see what kind of reaction we get from it. Let's see where we go from here. Which that's kind of the way, to me, that we want to go. Like I said, we're going to release an EP sometime this summer that we're working on right now, and we're already talking about what's our first single going to be. How are we going to structure it to see what kind of feedback we're going to get from it, that we can try to encapsulate so much different stuff. That's like, okay, what's the thing that we're going to what's the things that we're going to try to encapsulate on our next products.
And you kind of condense the whole, I mean, for someone to get the whole message and the whole idea of the band, you need to like look at all the artwork and listen to the whole EP and like digest the lyrics and like how it makes you feel. But like to condense it down, that's what a single on a project really is. It's like, oh, this is kind of like a taste that shows you a little bit of everything going on,
Yeah, which I gotta say, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I'll be sitting at work and whatnot, and sometimes I'm just like, bro, I gotta listen to Scavenger right now.
Oh man, that makes me happy.
I gotta listen to Scavenger right now. I love that song, dude.
It's fun. It's difficult to perform at times because I wrote it when I wrote that melody in 2016 when I was younger. My voice was a lot higher pitched then, and hold up, I'm gonna backtrack. I wrote that melody when I was a lot younger, and it was easier for me to sing that high. And then we recorded it, and then I have to perform it that way every single time. And now, there's been shows where I've made that melody my bitch, and I just nailed it. And there's been shows where that melody has made me its bitch, to be honest. But I love it. I just do my best every time. And if you see me at a show singing that melody a third down this music theory terms, I don't know if I should do it. Anyway, if you
hey man, don't start music theory. We go on music theory, you're gonna have me and Trey looking at you like, what?
If you see me singing Scavenger like
words.
pitch down, please don't judge me, because that's hard to sing.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and actually play a small clip of Scavenger right now so you guys can hear it. Go ahead and check it out. It's available on the major platforms, and I do have to say this song right now.
So as we were saying earlier, is that this song Scavenger and Vista is on all streaming platforms, but y'all have an EP.
Well, I gotta ask a question.
Okay.
Vista or Vista?
Oh yeah, it's Vista, but that's okay. That's a common mistake.
Hey, meal or mill?
It's meal. That's probably my Kaplan accent coming out. But anyway.
Yeah, so we have the 2 songs on all streaming platforms, and we released the EP, but it's available on our website right now. And it'll be available on all streaming platforms soon, but we've got some exciting things that we're going to do with the mailing list, so that's why we opted to release it digitally on the website first, to encourage people to sign up for the mailing list and see all the content we're going to be rolling out with soon.
Absolutely.
But yeah, every time I hear that chorus, it gets me fired up. And I recant what I said earlier. When I hear that, I'm like, Alec, don't be a bitch. Go sing that. It's an original key.
Right. Dude, I'm telling you, man, there's days where I'm sitting down at my day job, and I'll just be sitting at my computer, and I'm just like, dude, I gotta jam Vista. I gotta jam Scavenger right now.
Right.
I gotta just throw it down. I'll be sitting there at my computer, and people look over at me like an idiot. I do this to a lot of songs, but I'll be like, I don't even play drums. I'll be air drumming or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, bro,
I'm glad to hear that, because that's what we made that song for. And really, that's what we're making all the music for. I mean, it's just it's a catharsis, like aggressive music is like, all right, everybody's got some like dark shit that you can't really put out in society, but you can put it in art. And we can all come together on that. And it's like, that's a safe place for us to explore those emotions and those sides of ourselves that won't affect any other part of society negatively.
Yeah. Now here's the thing, though. Unfortunately, I love the Lake Charles. I love Lake Charles. Lake Charles has made us what we are and everything, but I find it's tough in Lake Charles to get people on board with that sound, that style. I mean, ours, and we're dialed back from what y'all are. I mean, I love y'all's music. We're dialed back at the Weekend Transit compared to what Mirages is, and we still have a hard time, trying to get people involved.
Well, I no, you're completely right. And there was a turning point for me where I had to stop trying to convert people to liking metal, and then just realize there's people that like metal and there's people that don't. So, like, in Mirages, like, my responsibility is to make sure that those people that already understand metal, like, make sure they have the best time possible, And just don't even, like, if someone's like, I don't like it because it's screaming out, and it's like, alright, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to argue with you about it or nothing. But it's funny because heavy music is context, built on context. It's like, we like screaming music and drop F sharp on low tuned guitars because we heard Black Sabbath when we were like 13, and then maybe you hear, like, when you're in high school, you hear a Breaking Benjamin song that has like one screaming line, and then you hear like Chiodos or something where it's like 60-40, and then it just, like, over time, it's like it gets more and more intense. And it's like, I don't think, like, if I would have never heard any of the bands that I've heard that brought me to this point, and I heard Mirages, it would probably be kind of like a strange experience. It would be like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I don't know. I think it's context built on context that brought us here. So
for sure, I'm gonna be honest. Like, in high school, whenever I would hear a song that's similar to y'all's, I wouldn't listen to it back in high school. But over time, I mean, I started out more like the easy core, like Will introduced me to A Day to Remember, like, really introduced me into them, and then I was like, what is this?
That's a great band.
This is so amazing. And then I actually, oddly enough, went to All That Remains after that. I went from A Day to Remember to
that's
like
a vibe switch.
One of the godfathers of metalcore. And then it just kind of grew from there. And now when I hear stuff that's like literally a whole song of screaming, I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
This is perfect. I can definitely appreciate both styles, both ends of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I don't sweat. It's like, there's people that are here with me and, like, understand what that is and appreciate it, and I'm like, alright, I'm doing this for you. I'm not really trying to, like, convert somebody that has no clue and is, like, committed to misunderstanding it from the get-go,
Oh my
Great
god,
going,
I'm
Mike.
so sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead, take care of that.
Yeah, it's important. I'm not going to say what it's about because I'm not at liberty to talk about it, but...
But anyway.
Anyway, go ahead. So now that I ruined the flow of this thing...
No, we're going to keep rolling. It's all good. But yeah, it's funny with Mirages because I've been in that band for so long. Like, 2013, and it's 2019 now. Like, I've been in that band that long, and... So we were around through different stages and periods of the local music scene, and you're saying that it's hard in Lake Charles, like, I know, because, okay, there's, like, the old music scene here where you had, like, Viridian and Ape, and different bands playing, and then all those bands kind of went away, and then now it's kind of resurging with new bands, but there was this in-between period where there's, like, We Lost Luna Live, and being a band Mirage has been going so long, there was a period of time where it, like, had no one to play with, and we would play at center stage, and it's like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to hear just this one band play these things, I mean, I'm sure we have fans and people that enjoy us, but, like, I like to make it a big show with a lot of people involved, and that really was a big moment for me because there was almost this responsibility that came to me to, like, all right, well, let me, like, do what I can to nurture the community and help people around me to make sure that we're never in this spot where there's just no bands again. If there's anything I have to say about it. So, like, I see a band come up, and I remember saying, y'all, Weekend Transit, when y'all are first starting, I'm like, that's badass. Like, I see the potential in this. And if y'all got gear questions, if y'all got anything, like, I want to help y'all. And I'm like that with everybody that I come into contact with, because I just want us to be a community that helps and relies on each other so that we have what we need to continue and be consistent.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. It's nice to see this resurgence because we kind of talked about that too. It's like there was a bit of a lull, kind of. I mean, back when I don't know, we were in college and whatnot, 2013, 14, 15, we talked about getting into bands and stuff like that. But at the time, it was nothing but cover bands. No disrespect to cover bands, but that's all it was. It was, you know, I was going to see Flamethrowers, I was going to see Bag of Donuts, I was going to see Chiwis or whatever. That's just really all it was. We didn't know anything local. There was just nobody doing anything until I'd say probably the past 2 to 3 years. Like you see people, you know, y'all, and then Hayden really had a lot, you know, big deal in trying to help with this resurgence and whatnot. You see Mr. Fahrenheit rolling around. That's the Good Samaritans, by the way. They're really working to rebuild this broken scene that we have, and it's been nice to watch. You know, especially it's been nice to be a part of it too, because I see a huge difference, at least in the morale of you know,
definitely
the grind of it. Because I mean, for a while it was just like, man, you know, we're trying, but there's just really nothing happening. But seeing all the bands pushing for it recently, I've seen an incredible difference just over the last 6 months, really, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming from a place where I've been here where there was nothing happening, and you saw that too, it's like, I'm so grateful for what's happening now.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, granted, Lake Charles it is what it is. We are the size that we are, so it's never going to be like the biggest market, but we have a lot of locals that are passionate right now. And I can see us in the near future being a viable stop for national acts in between like Houston, New Orleans, potentially. Maybe not like the biggest acts ever, but if you look at a market like Lafayette, which is an hour away from Lake Charles, like they're bringing in some big names right now, like national acts they need a stop on tour, and Lafayette can provide that for them, and they have the locals to back it up. So like someone comes through of this certain genre of rock, they have like, all right, well there's 3 rock bands that we can vet and see who would fit best, and then that local support marries there's people already coming to see like a national act, and then there's people that come to see a local act. So you put those two together, and it's like this superpower. Like people are just going to be at that show, you know. So I see Lake Charles maybe not going as far as Lafayette. Maybe they do. I don't know. But in the next 5 years, right now, we have Andy Frasco coming and playing Zephyr and the Cards, which is a local band, is opening for them, and that's cool because Andy Frasco is like platinum in Europe. I've never seen this artist before, but when I found out about him, I was like, okay, this is like a legitimate entertainer coming through our town. And it's that same circuit. It's like you've got a national act that has a draw, and you've got a local act that has a draw, and you put those two together, and then now you're really doing something.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know. Lake Charles definitely has potential for that. We have venues that can house national acts up to a certain point, and then we have locals that can support it. So I don't know. We're in a good spot right now. It's very positive. There's a lot of fresh energy, and I'm just excited about the future.
It's definitely on an upward line right now. Like it's definitely, like I felt like it was kind of begging for resurgence. You know, like you had guys like y'all who were just needing some help. You know, y'all were doing everything y'all could back in those years, and it was kind of just, you know, spread thin. Like who's, you know, only one band can only do so much. You kind of have to just go elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, the more and more that get involved, and the more we spread our own, you know, we build our own fan base. Somebody might come to a show that we play with you guys, you know, play with Mirages or even Earth Contemporary, and we might be like, they might say, well, I came to see this band, but this band, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then the
And
sharing of those audiences just grows the whole thing way bigger.
Yeah, it becomes one big kind of, you know, not to be too cheesy, but like gumbo, where it's just all these different, you know, flavors that kind of just grow to make one big final product, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's where I'm hoping, and that's where we're working to make this thing go. to that goal, you know?
Absolutely. And in my perspective, Mirages is just now at the point where we're trying to shift into regional act. Like, we're traveling, we're doing a lot of Texas shows. We did Austin, we did Dallas, and we're doing runs like every other month. Now, there's a responsibility that comes into play of, if we're going to go and be a part of a music community somewhere else and someone welcomes us in, like if they're on the road, you know, like they did that for us, I want to be able to give them the same hospitality and the same comparable experience when they come to Lake Charles.
Oh, for sure.
And like, if the community is like it was a few years ago where there's no bands and the shows are few and far between, like I can't do that. So there's a greater, it's not just the community here, it's like the greater music community everywhere. You know, it's like, and the more we go out and we meet people and we're a part of these other communities, I want to be able to return that same thing to people that come here, you know, just kind of like a mutual respect, like karmic kind of thing. Like, we need to be able to do that in Lake Charles. And so there's so many different reasons to be vested in community, all the way from the individual and just making sure like any person can have a good time, to making sure that a band traveling through actually has people to play to making sure that if a national act wants to stop in Lake Charles, it's worth it for them to do so. So for me, it's like, I would be an idiot not to be loving and open and nurturing towards every other band in the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So, so you said earlier, talking about, you know, during the 2013 era where there was no bands, and so now we're having this resurgence of bands. What's the next step to get more national acts? Obviously touring and meeting new guys, but like to get the bigger names here in Lake Charles, do we need more bands, or do we need more of a community and a pull, I guess, for those bigger bands?
I just think like diversifying and more bands playing together and working together. Like, all right, this is going to be probably the cheesiest thing I say this whole podcast. I don't even remember what the freaking movie is called, but there's that quote, like, if you build it, they will come.
Oh, that was Field of Dreams.
Yeah, okay.
Baseball movie.
Field of Dreams. So, like, if we just have a community that's happening and people are, like, supporting each other, people want to come out to shows because it's exciting and interesting, then bands from other cities, even regional or national acts, are going to want to come be a part of it.
Sure. And I'm all about that. I agree with that 100%. And I also agree with the statement you made earlier about it's hard to convert people into wanting, you know, something that they're not accustomed to. Mm-hmm. But in order for bands to come play shows, they want to see crowds that are going to show up. You know what I mean? And to me, that's got to be the biggest focus on what Lake Charles is doing right now for bands that may not be we're not a country band, we're not a cover band, we're not which I think funk type bands do okay in Lake Charles. I think those are a desired band in Lake Charles, which is great for all the funk bands out there. I think the biggest issue is not that, because people see venues in Lake Charles that are like promising venues. You see, like, you know, Zephyrs is, you know, what Luna Live was, because Luna Live used to be a good spot. That was the place to go, man. We used to love playing there. It was, you know, it used to bring people, which oddly enough, I almost sometimes feel like we had a hand in the reason why Luna Live shut down. Because
no,
not like we did anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong at all. Whenever we started playing there, there was like, before that, it seemed like more indie music type rock acts, indie music type acts were playing there. You know, just singer-songwriter stuff and whatnot, then cover bands. Well, they started booking bands like us.
Here come the rock and metal bands.
Here come the rock and metal bands.
Messing it up for everyone.
Lo and behold.
No, man, I don't think we can put that guilt on ourselves for that.
No,
that was other factors at play.
No guilt whatsoever. I just found it incredibly ironic that we started playing there more, and then.
No, I know what you're talking about, because that was sought after for me for years. Like, in Mirages becoming like a a validated thing, you know, like a band that people want to go see. I'm like, we got to be able to play at Luna Live. And we weren't able to for years. Mm-hmm. And then I think the first time we did it was with y'all, and it was like, shoot, okay, like, we did it. We finally, like, made it here. And then, like, within 6 months, Luna's like, not a thing anymore. I'm like, oh, like, I worked for years to get to this point.
We shut it down, man. We threw down too hard. Yeah, I just thought that was crazy, man. Which is what it is. But there are, like, Center Stage is a good venue. Mm-hmm. Like, the sound's great there. I mean, Darren runs it well. He's passionate about what he does. And then you got Zephyrs, who is being versatile with what they're allowing to play there. And then you got Panorama coming up and whatnot, which I'm not too sure what their route or their goal is. I don't know what they really...
Yeah, and it's cool because Zephyr and Panorama kind of popped up at the same time. And I think they're taking care of two ends of the scene, because you're probably going to see... I don't know, I don't want to say that this is fact, but just from what I've observed on the outside, it seems like more cover type bands are playing Panorama, and Zephyr is more open to original acts, which having both of those downtown, like, you're satiating everything, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it would be like a good thing to have those two eventually commingle, kind of like, all right, so now that we have everybody interested in these bands, do we let them start playing at Panorama, or do we keep playing cover bands?
Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying, like, Panorama doesn't allow, or, like, cover bands won't play at Zephyr. It's just what I've observed the pattern so far. So I'm sure at some point that bleed over is going to start taking place.
For sure. But, I mean, you got to have that place, though. I mean, there is those, which, I mean, I'm one of them. I mean, there's some nights where I just want to go out and hear the classics, you know? Yeah. I just want to go jam the classics. Yeah. We just go sing along to something we love. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
for sure. It just makes it that much harder for
us. You're competing with, like, someone performing the greatest songs from the greatest songwriters of all time. It's like, okay, no pressure.
Who are these guys?
Yeah,
for sure. So I have this is kind of a maybe an embarrassing but kind of a personal question. So I do want to know something. Everybody has them. This is a deviation from anything to do with one of your bands. This is strictly a question about you. I want to know your guilty pleasure song. Everybody has them. I have one. I'm not gonna say it right now. Don't worry about it. I want to know what Alex.
Okay, I have a couple. Can I do two?
Do two.
Can I narrow it down to two?
I'll give you a max 3.
Okay, I'm gonna go through them right now. First off, it would have to be a Paramore song. Probably say like "Rose Colored Boy" or something off their new album.
Well, that's not a guilty pleasure to me. That's like, hey,
just cheating.
I can jam that.
Okay, I don't know. It's just it's like. It's so, like, their new album is incredible, and it's very poppy. It's a deviation from their original, like, kind of punk rock influence sound, and it's like effeminate and poppy and artistic, and like I'll put that on and I'm just like singing along to every word, like completely out of my range, trying to hit notes I shouldn't be hitting. So that's
you hear
one.
Yourself and you think, oh god, that was bad.
Yeah, exactly. Another one I would have to say Drake is a guilty pleasure. I don't know if these are guilty pleasures.
These are not guilty pleasures, man.
Okay,
I like, want to know. Okay, let me give you an example. I'm gonna give you an example. Hear yours. All right, so one I can think of is Selena. I could fall in love. I want to know the exact lyrics. The name of the song, but that's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Now you put it in that perspective, I'm gonna say "God Is a Woman" by Ariana Grande.
That's a guilty pleasure.
We pulled it out. Dude, no. Every single word. You see me driving and you see me singing that song, mind your business. You roll up your window and you don't look at me because I'm going hard.
Don't ask questions. No. What about you, Trey?
I'm gonna have to go old school. No one's gonna know it. Y'all know "Come On, Eileen"?
Oh, yeah, everybody knows that song.
Yeah, I know that song.
See, that's almost not one because that's a classic.
Yeah, but once again, like Alec was saying, you see me driving down the road, just singing my heart out to that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Again, Alec, I do want to get a couple more personal points in there, and I want to learn a little bit more about you in particular. what? Well, what a segue into the next topic. Good job, me. What is right now? What are you jamming? That is really a driving factor of your inspiration for, any writing that you've been doing, or not necessarily right now, but your last Earth Contemporary, or your last Earth Contemporary and your last Mirages. Those last things you were writing for those bands, what was the type of music, what were some bands that you were listening to that kind of drove you to write those things?
I have an answer for this, and I'm really glad. Okay, there's a few records that I've ran into like in the past year, or maybe year to 3 years, that have really kind of shook me up and like changed my perspective on things. I'll put them into a couple different categories. There's like pop rock albums with like really focused songs that are like emotional that just hit me. And okay, White Noise by Paris, that band, they're kind of like a pop rock
I love
band.
Paris.
Yeah, okay, their debut album, every single song, I'm like, I love this. I know every word.
So good.
The aesthetic vibe is focused. The songs are simple and focused, and I was just like, this is like an incredible way to express yourself, because almost anybody can understand this. And it's catchy and it's cool, and so once I got into that record, there were other records that gave me a similar feeling, like Treehouse by Icy Stars, which was a metalcore band, and then they just released this like pop rock album that just every single track is slayed, and I'm like, I don't want to skip anything, this is so good. That's the Spirit by Bring Me the Horizon is another album like that.
That whole album for me was my segue into Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew some stuff from I can't think of the name of it right now, but Sempiternal.
Yeah.
I knew like some stuff from that. I didn't really delve into it. When I heard That's the Spirit, I was like, okay, I gotta listen to this band, and I actually ended up finding I like a lot of their old stuff after that. So
for sure. And I don't know, when I started hearing records like that, it's like these songs are so focused, they're authentic to the people that are writing them, and every single track on the project is good. It's like, I want to write something like that. Like, I want to write an album that you don't want to skip a song. Every single one of them means something, and it's catchy, and it's good. So that shook me up. And then also, the band The Contortionists. This is a little more, like, obscure in my music taste, but they came out with Language in 2014, and then last year they came out with Clairvoyant, which was their follow-up album. And it's so honest.
There's a lot
to that dude
in that album. Like there's so much just like emotional distress that is trying to come out of their music.
And that is the band that showed me that I can just like, I don't have to be like flashy or cool with my words. Like, I can just say what I feel in a song, and it's just that much more powerful, because it's like, whoa. Like, I felt that way, but that dude just said that. And, like, I didn't say it because I was embarrassed to say it, but he did. And it makes me feel like I can say stuff like that now. The feeling.
Yeah, that's one thing. People would say, like, why do you listen to that depressing stuff? It just makes you depressed. I'm like, no, this depressing stuff, it means a lot to me, because it's like, this person has gone through and felt things and is honest about what they felt, what they thought. And I'm connecting with this person's experiences through his music. Like, he's expressing some, whether it be pain, sadness, joy, even. I mean, it could be happy, but you felt that, and he's expressing it, and you're finding that you can connect to
exactly,
what he's
and that's
conveying.
Cathartic for your own experiences to know that like someone else felt that way, and this is like the gift and the responsibility of an artist. Because if you are someone who can express raw, real emotions like that in a song, you almost have a responsibility to other people to take your bullshit and put it in art, so that someone who doesn't have that same voice or that same way of expressing it like that can have a way to validate it or understand it in a new way. Like you're saying, like as a listener, you hear something, it's like, whoa, like, that dude felt that way, I felt that way too, but I've just never been able to say it like that,
For sure.
It validates you, and it helps you, like, put to rest things that you may have dealt with that have never been put to rest.
Right.
So, I don't know, that's really what attracts me now, is music that is emotionally authentic. Like, we'll boil it down to that simple thought.
Absolutely. And I think that's what y'all do in y'all music, and I want to thank you so much for coming out to the Soundcheck podcast today and talking with us and hanging out.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to be here.
Really enjoyed it.
Man.
And
Thank you so
Mike's
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really figured out how to get out of these things yet. So anyway, Alec, again, thanks for coming out, man. We really enjoyed your conversation. You have actually spread some massive wisdom. I see you actually said a couple things that, like, I see things a little bit differently now that make
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, like I feel a little more like, you know what, I've never looked at it like that before. That makes sense.
And that's all we can really do for each other, because everybody's got a unique perspective. So I'm happy to share mine, and I'm happy to hear y'all's, and I think y'all are going to do great things with this podcast in regard to that.
Sure hope
Thanks
so.
much. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to plug in before we sign off here?
Yeah, I just want to, one more time, I want to say that Mirages has our full EP available on our website if you sign up for our mailing list. We also have music on Spotify, iTunes, all streaming services for both Mirages and my other band, Earth Contemporary. So, and keep an eye out for more show announcements and more music on the way. So,
and maybe perhaps some things that we can't talk about, possibly.
Yeah, but we might go far away from home.
Maybe.
We might venture into some new territory. A new direction lies in pursuit of open sky. That's the line to Scavenger. We're going somewhere.
Absolutely.
We may or may not take a little trip. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out on the Soundcheck podcast. Please, please, please go drop a listen to Mirages and Contemporary. They are not only phenomenal bands, writers, all the above, but they're very different from one another. Man, what does that even mean? Different from one another. But if you are feeling a little bit angry, a little bit mad, a little bit emotional, go jam some Mirages. If you want to chill, take a break, relax, go listen to Earth Contemporary. There's something for everybody. Again, thank you for listening to Soundcheck Podcast. Okay.